On the morning of July 30th, Ismail Haniyeh, the leader of Hamas, went to the swearing-in ceremony of Iran's new president, where legislators could be heard shouting death to Israel and death to America. These are the last images of Haniyeh because he's dead now, killed in a surgical strike while in Tehran. Israel did not immediately claim responsibility for the assassination, which is not a surprise, at least not according to Avi Melamed, an Israeli author, educator, and former intelligence officer.
Let's assume that Israel is beyond that. Let's assume Israel is the one beyond that. Obviously, carrying out something like that is indicating a lot of very advanced capacities in terms of intelligence, in terms of accuracy, in terms of level of operational coordination that it requires, because there are obviously many different moving parts that when you do something like that. So again, I don't want to say the term victory, but I would say this is a very significant expression of might that resonates, of course, and echoes across the region.
Haniyeh was killed less than 24 hours after another Iranian-backed terror leader was killed in Beirut. Fuad Shukr was Hezbollah's top military commander in Lebanon, second only to the group's leader, Saeed Hassan Nasrallah. The U.S. government put a $5 million bounty on Shukr for his role in the 1983 bombing of a U.S. Marine Corps barracks that killed 220 Marines, 18 sailors, and 3 Army soldiers.
Obviously, when you take someone like the level of Fuad Shukr, for example, Hezbollah, you definitely hit what we call a focal center of knowledge, meaning a person that in the context of the organization is a very significant component because the knowledge, the experience, the capacities, the skills, and so on and so on. So in that regard, of course, it's very significant. The same applies for Hamas and Haniyeh, particularly not from the operational perspective, but more from the organizational perspective. We have to remember that Hamas, other than its militant capacities and operation, is a political movement, an ideological movement, and also a multi-billion dollars organization that runs business across the world. Haniyeh was a very significant component in that regard in his position as the head of the political bureau of Hamas. And so, yes, to a certain extent, when you hit such people, definitely there is some immediate ripple effect inside the organization.
Melamed says the timing of the 2 strikes is also significant and sends a clear message to Iran that Israel is ready to set the pace now.
Because up until now, the Mullah regime basically was the one that, was distributing the cards, so to speaking. The Mullah regime holds the cards. He, controlled the pace of the events, the trajectory, the dynamic, the momentum at will. And now, in a way, I think that these 2 events that, again, in my view, are not apart one from the other, they are intertwined. I think that's basically a message from Israel to Iran that actually says we are now reshuffling the cards.
As far as what sort of response to expect from Iran, Melamed says the Iranian regime losing 2 of its top commanders in 2 different terror proxies in less than a day is embarrassing for the regime. And to keep the support and loyalty of its so-called axis of resistance, the regime will need to retaliate. But Melamed says Tehran knows it cannot win a head-on fight against Israel and the West.
The bottom line is that currently the Iranian regime is facing this double dilemma: how exactly to retaliate on both events in a way that, in the end of the day, will not cause a dynamic that leads to a significant escalation to the point it will turn into a whole-out war. But we definitely should expect a retaliation.
For Straight Arrow News, I'm Ryan Robertson. If you want to see more of our reporting about Israel and the war in Gaza, be sure to download the Straight Arrow News app today or log on to san.com.